Join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Dharma Bum Temple. Is this all where you had intended to be on a Saturday morning? Nobody's here by mistake. Ended up in the wrong place. Dragged here? No? All right. Well, then I guess you're stuck now. It was interesting. I've been doing offerings and bowing to these statues for a long time, and I just did something I'd never done before, which was really kind of cool for me. And then as I was sitting down, I was thinking, well, am I going to share this or not? And apparently I went with yes, I'm going to share it. So it's just one of those kind of personal things, which for me was kind of cool. But for those who don't know, or maybe are brand new to Buddhism, at the beginning, we do what's called taking refuge. And we take refuge in what's known as the triple gem. And these three things are the Buddha, which is the Buddha himself, except when we take refuge in the Buddha, we're not taking refuge in him. He died 2,500 years ago and cannot help you now. So if you came here thinking Buddha was going to save you, it doesn't work that way. What we take refuge in is what's called bodhicitta, or Buddha nature. Buddha nature is what we all have. The teachings very clearly state that we all have the ability to awaken, meaning that we are no different than a Buddha. In fact, we all are, often you hear the phrase Buddhas to be, right? And so this bodhicitta that's within all of us is just the dust, the greed, the anger, the ignorance. This is called the three poisons, right? When the Buddha first awakened, he wasn't going to teach. And the Hindu god Brahma came down and said, there are people with little dust in their eyes, please go teach. So 2,500 years later, we have these teachings. But back to bodhicitta is that we're no different than Siddhartha Gautama, who became called the Buddha. He was human, we're human, last I checked, right? We wake up, we eat, we go to the bathroom, we sleep, some better than others, but we attempt to do all of these things. And that's the same thing Siddhartha did. And he figured out how to end his suffering. So when we take refuge in the Buddha, we're taking refuge in bodhicitta, Buddha nature, in essence, the Buddha that is within all of us. And that's great, because it would really suck if we had to rely on somebody else to end our suffering. What this does is it gives you all power and control in your reality to be a happier person. Just like your little mask with the smiley face. Yeah. See? And now I can see your eyes smiling. Before I just saw your chin was smiling. Now your eyes are smiling, right? How many of you want to be happier people? Right? So the funny thing is the Buddha taught about ending suffering, but for most people, they're like, that's suffering. That's so miserable. I just want to be happy, right? That's the Dalai Lama's book, The Art of Happiness. But anyways, back to my initial point. So we take refuge in the Buddha. The second one is the Dharma. The Dharma is the teachings. What is it that he actually taught? And these are the things that we go over day in and day out, in a crazy place like this, having kindness and compassion and generosity and morality and patience and diligence, concentration, wisdom, all these kind of core basic Buddhist teachings, that's the Dharma. These are the teachings that help us become happier people, right? Which by the show of hands, you all would like to be. And the third one is the Sangha. We take refuge in the community. At the time of the Buddha, it was the Buddha and the disciples, the monks and nuns, and then it kind of expanded from there. And in really kind of modern day, we look at Sangha as a group of people that come together to explore meditation and Buddhist practice. So we find safety, comfort, protection in each other. All right, this is what holds us accountable. This is what reminds us to stop being mean, angry, selfish people. I'm sure none of you are those people, but just in case one of you showed up today, these teachings and the community reminds us to actually be held accountable for our actions, right? So this is what we take refuge in. So as I was doing my offering, which again is something just I do personally, and then, invite you all to join in if you'd like. We have the Kuan Yin statue, which represents compassion. That's the big one in the middle. We have the emaciated Buddha, which is Siddhartha Gautama, which is the one that looks really skinny and looks like, he needs to eat a sandwich. And then down below, a lot of you probably can't see it, but it's a little tiny statue called Vairochana. And Vairochana in, technical Buddhist teachings say that Siddhartha Gautama and all of Buddhism as we know it is a manifestation of Vairochana's mind. I'm not even going there with that, just kind of leave it at that. All religions and ancient philosophies and ways of life are stories. But so we have the Kuan Yin of compassion, we have Siddhartha of the Buddha, and we have Vairochana as the one who holds all of this in his mind. And so as we took refuge, for some reason, I always look up at the Kuan Yin when I'm doing all three. And this time, as I took refuge in the Buddha, I looked at the emaciated Buddha. And then as I said, I take refuge in the Dharma, my eyes just dropped to the Vairochana. Because of all of this is a manifestation of Vairochana's mind, then all of the Dharma, all of the teachings, everything flows out of the manifestation of Vairochana's mind. Again, don't get too weirded out by that stuff. I'm just touching on it, right? And the last one is I take refuge in the Sangha, and then my eyes went back up to Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin's name means hearer of the world's cries. She hears all the suffering in the world and pours out endless compassion to heal all. And so for me, this is very profound because and that's why we picked that statue to really be the strong presence here. What this community needs, what we all need, what this city, country, world needs is more compassion. But I bring it up more so to point out the fact that we must start with having compassion where? Ourself. That was great. All three of you in a row, you all went like this. Okay. Compassion must start with yourself. And so I use the word use loosely, not in a take advantage way, but we utilize the bodhicitta that's within all of us, the Dharma, which is these teachings, and the compassion towards self to make change in our lives and ultimately the lives of those around us. So for me, it was just very cool to kind of see those three elements represented in my mind, because those three, the Buddha, Kuan Yin, Vairochana, for me in my practice are very important. And these are all just tools, I mean, if you go to do math or geometry, they give you, I don't even know what they're called. I don't know why I said geometry. Geometry has a bunch of tools, right? They're all just tools to help you figure stuff out. And that's all these things are. They're just tools. Anyone here mean and angry towards themselves? Only two of you, phenomenal. Thank you for playing. The rest of you, you're all dismissed. You two can stick around, right? But that meanness, that anger we have towards ourselves, we overcome that with learning to have compassion towards yourself. So that's a lot of info to start with, but insight into my crazy head. In summary, just have more compassion towards yourself and you'll be okay. And the rest of us will thank you for it. So, all right, with that being said, we'll start with the meditation practice. A couple things to tell you before we begin. For those who might be brand new, nothing's going to happen to you. You will not float away. You will not have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are we doing it right? Are we doing it wrong? We're just going to sit and breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. The practice of meditation is learning to be okay within all of that chaos. Don't expect anything. Often we think that our mind's going to shut off or we're going to go blank. That's not going to happen. Your mind is going to continue to race. I'll say things periodically to remind you that your mind is racing and bring you back to present moment. Posture, you want to be comfortable. If you are on a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be on the knees or in the lap, whatever's comfortable. If you're on a bench or a chair, also just sitting up straight, relaxing the shoulders. Trying to keep the feet flat on the ground. I will guide us as we begin. We'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Return to breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments of the practice, just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation, yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. Most important with the practice of meditation, to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit, or the hands across the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where we come from or what we believe in and where we think we're going, our whole life is filled with things that happen. We react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way we responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. Imagine going a day without being disturbed by someone. Imagine going an hour without being disturbed by someone. Most of you won't even make it home before you're disturbed. Let's just aim for outside of the temple before you're disturbed. This practice is not fun. Meditation's not an escape, as often people think it is. If your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess, meditation doesn't fix that. It makes you become aware of why your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess. So then you can actually make changes in your life. Often people, especially if you're new, think, well, I'm going to go meditate and that's going to change things and fix things. Hate to break it to you, but for the last 20, 30 minutes, you did absolutely nothing. So you didn't fix anything. But what you did was you set things down. I mean, you might have carried them in your head for the last 30 minutes, but even still, you couldn't do anything about it. Waking up to things as they are is this practice. Escaping from things as they are is what we've been doing most of our lives. The Buddha taught very clearly that we run from aversion and we seek and run towards things that bring us comfort. Now that logically makes sense, right? We prefer to someone going towards someone that's going to give us a hug than towards someone that's going to cause us pain. So in a practical sense, yes, I get it. But it's really much deeper than that. When you look at any sort of physical, mental, emotional trauma and pain that we carry, very often we don't have the ability to sit with it. And so we seek and we crave and we desire something or someone to take all of that away. And the reason I say this practice is not fun, especially for those who are new, is this practice is waking up to the nature of your own mind. How many of you love listening to your own mind all day long? It's not the most fun thing in the world, but it is yours to an extent. And so learning to be with it is incredibly important. Very often we spend so much time trying to fix, change, control, manipulate everything around us. And this practice is learning to change our mind and our reaction to the world around us. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself, as I talked about earlier, and everyone around you. So I think I'll just pause there. I really always prefer to just respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice. I'd rather use the rest of the time to just address what's on your mind, and then we'll go from there. Since I rambled so much at the beginning about my cool moment of my offering. So thoughts, questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with.
So you were saying we were sitting there for 20 minutes, doing nothing. To kind of play devil's advocate, I have a committee going on in my brain, and I made a few decisions during that 20 minutes. So to say sitting here and doing nothing kind of made me feel like what I kind of decided on and certain things I wanted to take action on was not really true, but I think it was.
Yes. I love that expression, devil's advocate. It's almost like a gentle way of saying, I just disagree with you.
Right.
You can say you disagree with me. That's okay too, right?
I kind of want you to prove me wrong.
Oh, man. I'd rather just let you go along thinking you're always right. It's so much better that way. So tell me your name again. I forgot your name.
My name is
Tim, right. You're Tim Gallagher, right?
Correct.
Now that I've outed you to the whole room. So, Mr. Tim Gallagher, one, I really appreciate you pointing that out because it does lend to interpretation, not just for you, but for anyone who might be new, right? So there's many levels to what you are bringing up, and I want to kind of focus on a couple of them to help maybe just shed some clarity or light around the nature of this. So when let's see, how do I want to start this? When in the moment that I said we were just sitting and doing nothing, right? What I was referring to in that moment, and I'll come back to the specifics of your example in a second, but what I was referring to in that moment is that very often we spend so much of our lives running around trying to do something physically, right? Trying to build, trying to create, trying to conquer, try to be better, we're constantly moving throughout our day. And so what meditation is doing is it's allowing us to physically do nothing and just sit and set things down physically, often mentally, often emotionally, right? Physically, you set things down because you were just sitting, physically doing nothing. Mentally and emotionally, does that make sense so far?
Absolutely.
So when I said it in that context, that's what I was referring to. What you were doing, let me back up. Anyone else in the room feel like they have a committee in their head? I actually started to think you were like on a committee when you started talking, and then you continued, and so does anyone else have a committee in their head? Every hand is up in here, right? And again, if your hand's not up, you're lying to yourself, okay? We all have these committees in our heads. So what I want you and everyone else to understand is meditation, while you accomplished a decision, sounds like, and that's wonderful. Maybe something's been, you've been wrestling with it for a while, you've been troubled by it, right? Whatever it is, whether it was this or any time in our life, right? We have difficult times making important decisions. We have difficult times deciding what latte we want to order, right? So important decisions are really challenging. What you did during this 20 minutes was allowed yourself to come mentally, potentially emotionally, often emotionally drives mental anyways, to a decision, which is wonderful. And I, and hopefully the rest of us, are very happy that you've come to a decision. How long have you been wrestling with this?
3 days.
3 days. So that's not bad. Some of us have been wrestling with stuff for 3 years. Still haven't made a decision. So I'm glad you've come to a decision. But what I want to clarify for you is decision-making, processing during this time, very beneficial, very wonderful, isn't meditation. I know that might hit a little bit. How does that? I saw the look in your eyes. How do you feel? Like I just attacked you verbally. I apologize and said you are not meditating. Get out. How dare you think and figure stuff out? I am thrilled you figured something out, but I want to repeat. You were not meditating. You were figuring stuff out. Both important things to do. But meditation in the practice that I learned, which is just one out of millions of types, that I learned from the Buddhist teachings, is not processing, is not figuring out, is not coming to decisions. It's actually recognition of thoughts as they arise, releasing them, and then coming back to the present moment. Okay, you with me so far?
Absolutely.
Let me expand on that a little bit. Again, for everybody who might be brand new, what you're working on, what I suggest you work on, how I was trained, and so that's what I share with meditation practice, is as we sit here, all of our thoughts are going to fly by, millions of them, right? Like we just had literally, there's stats out there, I forget what they are now, but there's literally like thousands of thoughts we have in a 20-minute period, okay? And so what we're working on as a practitioner is as we're sitting and breathing, thoughts arise. Say it's hunger. There's my thought of hunger. Recognize it, release it, back to the breath. This is what I want to do. There's the thought again, hunger. Recognize it, release it, back to the breath. This is what I'm working on, the recognition of a thought and releasing it. What I don't want to do, what I'm practicing not doing during the meditation, thought arises. I'm hungry. I want to eat. What am I going to get? I want a burrito. I'm going to go to Pokies. I want chips. I want sauce. I want a drink. Next thing you know, I've sat there for 5 minutes thinking about a burrito. And now I'm hungrier than I was 5 minutes ago. Wonderful. I've accomplished. I'm hungry. I want a burrito and where I'm going to go. But that was all 5 minutes of thinking about a burrito. Also not meditation practice. There's a difference between these two things. Now, why is this important? So again, in this example, it's great that Tim was able to kind of come to a conclusion with something he was struggling with, right? But any of you been struggling with something for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? I talk about this all the time. This thing happened 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, and we are still living it in our heads and in our hearts over and over and over again. So the practice of meditation is helping us on a much larger scale, is not really the right word, but on a much larger scale of helping us learn to recognize thoughts as they arise, release them, and come back to present moment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with solving the dilemma that was in your head. That is wonderful. I just want to draw a separation between thinking and processing and figuring out and allowing, as the great Zen master Dogen, he lived 1200 to 1253, is the founder of the Soto Zen school, which is one of the two really remaining schools of Zen Buddhism, Soto and Rinzai. And he wrote a book titled Beyond Thinking. And so he talks about where the body and mind fall away and you abide simply in sensation of breath. You with me so far? One more thing before we open up to your, fight back is, and there might not be one, but I hope there is, because otherwise this would be no fun. The other thing I want to say, which I just forgot. It was important too, I think. Go ahead.
So what I've learned over the past few months is to not judge my meditation.
Yes.
Because when I was first coming here, I was thinking like 80%, 90% of the time and meditating maybe a few moments here and a few moments there.
Yeah.
I'm getting some stamina, but I also have to know that those thoughts and that thinking will come into it, and it's a chance to recognize that. And if I'm open to making a decision at that time, then make that, and you can always change the decision later.
Yes.
And then trying to get back into that state of meditation. So it's like, I'm probably 50-50 now.
Yeah. No, that's great. And again, not just for you, but for anyone else, I am absolutely I want to drive home the fact that I'm not suggesting that what you just did was wrong or bad. And that's not just for you, but for anyone. Like, we all sit here and we have thoughts. And when we find ourselves in meditation, all of a sudden something arises. It's like, oh, wait. There's a great metaphor of in Zen practice where we talk about, you have a vase, okay? And in this vase, you have clear waters that you start with, and you have rocks and sand and pebbles, and you start shaking it. And when you're shaking it, everything is just a mess. It's all swirling around. The meditation practice, that kind of body and mind falling away, abiding in sensation of breath, is like setting the vase down. And when you set the vase down, all the sand, all the rocks, all the pebbles settle. And when it settles, you're back to clear water. What you're referencing is and as a side effect, as a benefit, as a whatever you want to call it, of your meditation practice, your mind is settling. And very often when our mind settles, we're able to think and see more clearly. You ever been really angry and emotional and tried to make a decision? How does that work out usually? Regretful. So when we're wrapped up in emotions and we make decisions, terrible. When we settle ourselves and we think clearly, and if that is during meditation, all of a sudden something just appears and you're like, wow, it's so clear to me now. Then, you don't need my okay, but by all means, go with that. Use that time to say, okay, I'm a little more settled. I'm a little more calm. Now I'm going to make these decisions. I think it's wonderful. So, yeah, is that helpful at all?
Yeah. It's nice to put it out into the world.
Definitely. Yeah, Amy.
If you could just expound on that then and talk about the importance or the value of then coming back to the breath in the present moment and what's that going to bring to our
So the question of to expand on the importance and the value of coming back to the breath, everything we do throughout our days, we're very often, and again, if none of you ever respond to your emotions, then you can ignore everything I'm saying, but very often we're driven so heavily by the emotions and the attachments and the cravings and desires and the things that we carry with us. These things that we're carrying with us are the stories we've been telling ourselves our entire life. This is my name, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, this is what I do, these are my expectations, this is how I planned my whole life out, and I'm going to tell it to you completely. And it's all fixed in a box, and that's exactly what it's like. And then when things don't go how you want them to, our whole world is shattered, and we don't know how to respond. This is because we very often have an incredible, challenging time being present with life as it is. So for me, back to your question, the practice of meditation and being present with sensation of breath and in this moment isn't about being good at meditation. This is sort of along the point I wanted to make, that it's not about being good at meditation. It's when we go through our day and we are challenged and people are yelling at you and they're, cutting you off on the freeway and they're challenging every belief you have and they're not doing everything you want them to. In that moment, it's an opportunity to recognize, oh, there's my emotions, there's my thoughts, there's what I want to do back to them. Come back to my breath. And draw some sort of separation between us and the people and places and things that are triggering us. Because that's what our entire life is. We are responding to people and places and things around us that trigger us. If you weren't doing that, none of you'd be sitting here right now. If people and places and things around you didn't bother you, we'd all be at home watching cartoons. Yeah, it's Saturday. So, does that help?
Thank you.
Yeah. That's why, to me, this is always referred to, and how I always refer to it, as a practice. The game is when you walk out these doors, because that's when the world starts crashing in on you. And they don't do what you want. So we have to practice coming back to just sitting, just breathing, getting through each moment as it arises, because each moment as it arises is hard enough as it is, without having to add the last 30 years of our life on top of it. So, other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
Just kind of adding on a thought I had, not really a question, but as far as coming back to the present, noticing your breath, all that. I remember, I've gone on some vacations to like epic places and hikes and stuff, and like knowing I was going, it was like I want to be present and enjoy what's happening, because like not only responding to what other people are doing, but my own head, I'm in the past, I'm in the future, I'm fantasizing about things back home while I'm in like this amazing place. Like, so like what am I doing? Like,
Right.
So I remember like coming up to some of these trips, I was doing like a mini retreats here. I want to practice keeping my mind present.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to do. I mean, if we all could have the ability to just stay present, majority of our problems go away. I mean, for example, unless you absolutely hate sitting here right now, what's wrong? Now, if I ask you to tell me about all the problems in your life, this would be a pretty depressing room in 30 minutes, right? So, yeah, it is the practice. And did it help?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But it's like he said, like I'm kind of up to 50-50 now.
Right. Yeah. It's a practice. It's not something that we like 6 weeks in and we've perfected it. Like, okay, I got it. I'm done. Peace out. It's a practice. And these things make it nearly impossible, because even if we want to enjoy the present moment as it is, and we're totally grateful for it, we want to make sure that the rest of the social media world enjoys the present moment with us. So we can enjoy it, but we want to make sure 1,000 other people enjoy it. Like, look at me, I'm enjoying the present moment. I want you to enjoy it with me. And then we spend the next 45 minutes seeing who enjoyed it with us. How many hearts, how many likes, did they enjoy it with me? Oh, look, you're enjoying the present moment with me. 3 days later, we're looking back. Who enjoyed that moment with me? Impossible. Yeah, but it's what we got, so let's use it for good, because we did it before these things, just in a different way. Other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
What's a tool that you could use in the moment? I had a product I ordered and I was dissatisfied with it. So I thought, I'm going to call customer service, right? So I'm talking to the woman, and she actually gave me an explanation, but I wasn't happy with it, right? It wasn't what I wanted to hear about it.
Yeah.
It seemed like she wasn't hearing me. So here's what I got affected by is after I hang up the call, I keep processing it, and I'm going, she wasn't nice to me. Why wasn't she nice to me? I mean, this is what I'm doing, and I can watch myself doing it.
Yeah.
And I've been practicing a while, and it's just like
It's just not working.
Well, that's a simple thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what was I so offended about?
Right.
I wanted her to be compassionate, say, "Oh, I'm hearing what you say, and we're so sorry. Would you like your money back?" I guess I don't know.
Yeah. But even then, you would have been pissed off at something.
Yeah, but I don't know what to do in those moments.
I know. I hear you. And the entire nature of all of your suffering is in the perfect example of what you just shared, which is, to recap it for anyone who maybe didn't hear it, or our millions of YouTube followers, is that you ordered a product to help you. What the product is irrelevant. You ordered a product to help you. You were dissatisfied with it. The customer service person you called to complain. You didn't like what they told you. You thought they were rude. You had all kinds of expectations around what you wanted them to tell you. They didn't tell you anything you wanted to hear. And you're just so frustrated with it. What I love about what you said, I mean, I love all that too. But what I really love about what you said is that, I forget your exact words, but you basically, in essence, you said that that's not even important. Like, that's a meaningless little thing coming from an absolute stranger. But what about when these things happen with people that we know and love and are actually important and we care about, right? And this whole thing has bothered you so much. When did it happen?
Yesterday.
Oh, okay. So it's not that bad. But that it even led you to bring it up here again. So you were just in your head, to use your words, over and over and over again. You are torturing yourself. The Buddha taught we suffer, we experience discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction, aversion, because we have cravings and desires. We are attached to outcomes. We have expectations of how we want things to be. And when they're not, we want them fixed. You just laid out every reason he taught about why we suffer. And you're still suffering with it. And it's absolutely meaningless. Isn't this fun?
I'm not as bad. This isn't as bad as yesterday.
No, I understand. I'm glad you're not as bad as yesterday. I would have hated to have seen you yesterday. But so let me kind of close with this example. Have I retold it enough to, yeah? Am I, okay. Your question really was, what tools can we use? So let me break it down a little bit before I get to the tool. Because I want us to all understand really what the Buddha was teaching around why we suffer, why we struggle, why we have difficulty throughout our lives. And this is with a simple example of something you purchased that you're probably going to return and it doesn't even matter. And the person is a complete stranger and it bothered you. But we crave things, people, places to make us feel better. Constantly. Because for whatever reason, we lack the ability to recognize that we can be okay with just our breath. When we don't get what we want, we crave, we desire, we attach to everybody listening to how upset we are because we didn't get what we wanted. Not recognizing that when you don't get what you want, you could just breathe and be okay with it. We attach to everything working exactly how we want it to. And when it doesn't, we don't like it. This is the Buddhist teachings on impermanence. The impermanence of self. The impermanence of our expectations. The last part, to me, that there's a lot in there, but is that you reference the other person. Do you think they suffer? You don't think they suffer?
Well, yeah, they suffer. I don't think this person suffered on this phone call.
That wasn't my question.
Yeah.
Do you see how I said, do you think, you couldn't all see it, but I said, do you think this person suffers? Immediately the head went no. Because you were only thinking about whom? You. Do you think this, let me rephrase the question. Do you think this person suffers?
Yeah.
Do you think they have difficulties in their life?
Yeah.
Do you think they have challenges?
Yeah.
Do you think they deal with loved ones who are in pain?
Yeah.
Do you think they've had heartache and loss and death and dealing with the same pandemic we're dealing with? But in that moment, you only cared about one person and one thing.
Right.
Who was that? You. The tool is to recognize other people exist and other people are important.
So I had no compassion, basically.
I'm not saying you have no compassion.
There.
In that moment, you had pretty much zero compassion. Yes. I know you well enough to know you have compassion. You have wisdom. In that moment, you had neither. Because you didn't get what you wanted. And I always talk about how we're just babies in like these older bodies. And we're crying all day long because somebody took our toy. Somebody stole your toy. And you're like 4. You don't care about them. But you're not 4 anymore. So it's time for all of us, and this is the compassion and wisdom, to recognize that other people suffer also. And they're equally as important as we are. It doesn't mean they're more or less important, but they're equally as important. So the moment, I get it, you got something you didn't want, you wanted to return it, fine, send it back, get your refund, don't get your refund, whatever. But the person answering your call, it's not their fault. You think they love their life? They're trying to get by like everybody else, right? So when we make life not about just us, your world will drastically change. It really will. Your whole life, people are going to take your toys. Don't be attached to them. The greatest attachment, the greatest toy is us. We too are impermanent, and we don't know when our time is up. So do you want to spend your life fighting with some $29.99 thing you bought?
It was more.
Well, whatever. You get my point, right? How much was it?
$200.
$200. Okay?
That helps make it bigger.
It doesn't at all. But for my peace of mind, I just want, if you'd said you spent 80 grand on something, then, $200, you're probably okay. Totally, But it is funny you say that, and I'll close with this thought. We do assign greater value to things, because we think that the more is more important. It's just a deeper craving and a deeper desire and a deeper attachment, right? We'll give away something we bought for $5, but something we bought for $200? No. I spent $200 on it. I'm holding on to that one. But the $5 stuff, here, take it. I don't want it. The clothes we don't wear that we don't like, we'll give away. But the clothes we don't wear that we like, again, attachment. So, does that help? The tool is compassion. Yeah, good. Did you get your money back?
No, I kept it.
Oh, you kept it? Oh, and you're not happy about that, are you? Good thing we're out of time, or I would keep pushing this. I know how much you love being on the spot, I can tell. Yes. Please don't wait another year to ask a question. It's a great question. And it's beneficial because everyone in this room, for the most part, has been in your shoes and can relate. So thank you. Yeah. All right, we'll join palms as we close. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to the more than 4 million lives who've been lost during this pandemic and their family and friends who suffer to this day. May they all be at peace. May we all be at peace and free from suffering. So a few quick announcements before y'all head out. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple nearly 15 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. So thanks for showing up. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students. We're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense to those who show up. Just about every night we have different practices going on, different people leading. We do sit here. We closed for 16 months, so everything was shut down. And we built a virtual temple, which was really beautiful, to really build a virtual presence. And then about 2.5 months ago, we reopened on a very limited basis. So in person, we sit, I do the intro class Tuesday night. Wednesday, Alex does a loving kindness, and Travis does the Dharma Bum Basics on Thursday nights, and then this Saturday morning. Tuesday night and Sunday morning, we do our recovery Sangha. So drug, alcohol, any addiction you're battling with, that meets here Sunday morning and downstairs meditation hall Tuesday night. We also sit in person Monday through Friday. small group, couple people, you're welcome to come sit 8 and 8:30. There's no one leading. There's nobody talking. It's just 25-minute silent meditation sessions Monday through Friday, 8 to 8:30. Pre-pandemic, we would see 600-800 people a week, and now temple's closed all day. So we've drastically cut into that number. We open in the morning to sit, we close all day, then we open up in the evening for classes. We appreciate all of you. You know, we never tracked anybody. We didn't care who showed up, what your name was. You know, I've sat with people for years, didn't know their names. Show up as you are and leave as you are. Now we appreciate you, you know, with us, the RSVP and signing in at the door and checking your social security number and tracking you and all that kind of stuff. We've microchipped you as you came in. So we appreciate you, you know, putting up with all of that and wearing the mask and everything. It allows everybody to feel safe and comfortable in here. RSVPs are required only for this Saturday morning and also the Tuesday night recovery Sangha. All the other classes, you can just show up. Buddha for You also is closed all week. It opens Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 3, so it's open downstairs now. And then it opens for an hour during the week from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. before classes. Other than that, Tom, are you sticking? I think he's sticking around. He already stepped out, but are you going to be? Yeah. So I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you know how much I hate doing that. So Tom, anyone who wants to stick around from 12 to 2, you can stick around for 5 minutes, for an hour, whatever. We'll spend some time outside cleaning and gardening, raking, picking up leaves, you know, whatever it is. So anyone who wants to stick around, you're welcome to stick around or help clean. Anyone who wants to check if trash cans are full, you're welcome to do that as well. We don't have a cleaning crew. We are all the cleaning crew. So if nobody takes care of the temple, then nobody takes care of the temple. So we appreciate you being here. And I hope you enjoy your day and can be nice to yourselves all day today and everybody else. So good luck with all that. And we'll see you soon.